Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Let's say it together. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Will you stand up with me to say it? Now, I know that maybe some of you aren't quite in the same Easter mood you would be if you were standing in front of me. Maybe you have your best Easter clothes on. Yeah, new dress. Maybe you have your Easter bunny slippers on. Okay, if you're still in bed, that's fine. Wherever you are, I invite you to stand. Stand on your feet. Stand up in your chair. Make your eyeballs stand open. Maybe even just raise a finger. And at your heart level, stand it up to say, Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Once again, Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. This is a statement of faith. It's a statement of hope. It's a statement of truth. God is working for good. And it is an interesting Easter, right? It is an Easter, one like we will remember and one like any other. And yet there have been ones that we've experienced that are maybe less than ideal, perhaps disconnected, maybe even filled with fear. This week, as I was talking to folks, someone mentioned that the last Easter she missed was when her mother was actively dying. I was reminded that just a year ago, Notre Dame burned in Paris 6 days before Easter. So we had a completely new way of considering what it would be like to worship in a building. There have been soldiers on the battlefield during Easter. There have been prisoners in jail and refugees fleeing danger. There's been rain and snow, hail, freezes, tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes that have all inhibited plans of celebration of Easter. Where is the sacred? Where is Easter? What does it mean? I'm really grateful this week for my Jewish siblings who helped make meaning for this week as they began their Passover celebration on Wednesday. They helped give perspective through their rituals of Passover and Seder meals, remembering how our ancestors, the Hebrew people, fled captivity in Egypt. They sought God's protection, especially from death, when they put lamb's blood over the doorframes of their homes. All the while, in the midst of this waiting, in the midst of seeking God's help, they were yearning for freedom. Where is the sacred? Where is Easter this year? It is here. It is here today in resurrection, in the transformation, in the changing things of disorder, of sadness, of anger, hurt, isolation, fear, and loneliness. And resurrection is not a one-time event. We read the story of Jesus coming out of the tomb and meeting Mary on the road. And yet Christ offers transformation over and over and over again, this day and tomorrow, in this circumstance and any happening going forward. Resurrection is not about forgetting the current reality. It's not an escape or a dream vacation. It is a new way of living each day, however they come. Resurrection can mean change and transformation, and it takes what has been in order, got out of order, and reorders it. It takes something like two realities, sometimes in opposition, and creates a third way, a synthesis. Jesus transformed lives around him during his lifetime with resurrection. He would meet a leper and in healing who was disconnected from his whole body and the community. And in healing him, Jesus transformed this man, transformed the body, transformed his orientation to community. Jesus transformed people's encounter with a corrupt system. He changed the rules of who was good enough, worthy, clean, acceptable, and began to critique a system that thought it was immune to evaluation. Thus, he made a third way of saying something else is worthy and pure and good. He fully honored the creation process of death leading to life. And he took that on. He took that on in the pain and suffering, the death that we try to avoid at all costs. And in his own death, he let it transform him and thus be resurrected. Jesus changed. And an Easter resurrection became a way, a new life. Christ in resurrection transforms, changes, refines, redeems, makes meaning, synthesizes, includes, and transcends. Heaven and earth become one so that we can be at home. And as Jesus said throughout his ministry, heaven is at hand, right here, right now. My message to the kids this morning is that Easter is all around us. It's not locked or hidden away in some long ago tomb behind a rock. It's not in jail, nor is it trapped in a house, sheltering in place. Wherever and whenever we see change occurring to bring reorder, redemption, remembering, rebirth of new life, we experience Easter. Now, this is not everything, always, everywhere, but the promise of Easter that it occurs over and over, like the cyclical nature of the seasons of all of creation. A full tree dies with its leaves, allows them to fall, buries the seeds trapped under snow, and that change, there's transformation, there's restoration that brings life into this year's budding trees. We ebb and flow with this truth. Even the word resurrection can feel so nebulous, maybe academic, maybe out there. And maybe even our heads are able to hold it because we recognize that truth somehow sticks with us. But right now, our heart may be hesitant. It may be tender and shy. So I invite you to hear Rilke's poem ushering each of us calmly into the fullness of holding it all. Going to the Limits of Your Longing by Rainier Rilke. God speaks to each of us as he makes us, then walks with us silently out of the night. There are the words we dimly hear. You, sent out beyond your call. Go to the limits of your longing. Embody me. Flare up like a flame and make big shadows I can move in. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me. Nearby is the country they call life. You will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. As those words rush over you, and this particular moment settles within, consider these questions. Where do you find yourself still on the cross? Still at the foot of the cross of Good Friday, dying, letting go, waiting for freedom, admitting life is hard and isn't about you. Where do you experience death, buried but not yet renewed? Where is the disorder that you can see and claim, but that has not been reordered? Where are you waiting in the dark, waiting for the sun to peek through the crack in the tomb? Where is Easter happening in your life? Where is change creating a new thing, a new perspective, a new way of being in the world? Easter can often be as subtle as the grass that turns green. Consider these questions for yourself, and now consider them for your community. The community of faith, the neighborhood, the world, and even the ecosystem that we all share with the rest of creation. How is the community dying? How is it buried, stuck, entombed? How is it and will the community be changed with new life? Jesus told Mary, "Do not be afraid. Go tell the disciples to meet me in Galilee. They will see me there." Jesus' journey was not over, but resurrected, made new. And God did all of the work. God did the work when Jesus was resurrected, even as God does the work each and every time there's a change and transformation. Therefore, as his messenger, Mary had to claim what Mother Mary and Father Joseph had claimed when the angel told them not to fear this new life. With courage, Mary and the disciples would continue to walk, continue to journey on the road from the tomb, continue to see Easter, the good news in change, in resurrection for themselves, the community, and the world. For all that remained yet undone, for all that was still surviving without God, they were going to see in Galilee and forevermore how death could be a life for all. That heaven, that God, that the abundant and everlasting love was indeed at hand, and transformation for good would forever be God's promise embodied in Jesus, the risen Christ. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed, this day and always. Amen.